Welcome, everyone. We're back for our second iteration of the RocketChat roadmap reveal. We did this as well about 6 months ago, and looking forward to going through all of our updates and what is coming next. So without further ado, let me introduce Gabriel to kick things off for us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and welcome back, everybody. It was exciting last time to talk about the things that we're working on. Even more excited now to show some of the progress of the plan, how new features and new areas we're investing are developing, and looking forward to show to you and get your feedback. So let's jump into it.
Okay. All right. Terrific. So I know a lot of people on the call are very familiar with RocketChat, but we always have a few people who are new to the platform. So to get things started, as a reminder, who are we? What do we focus on? So RocketChat, the thing that we think about every day is data protection in every conversation. So we are the world's largest open source communication platform. We focus on enabling your organizations to own your data, to customize anything within the platform, and essentially to integrate with everything, all of your apps, all of your workflows, all of your different automations. When we think about the overall scope of the platform, we focus on enabling you to connect and collaborate with your team, with other organizations, which will be a big theme today for us, with your customers, and as I mentioned before, your critical apps, automations, workflows. So to close out our intro, we're always open source, we're always improving, we're always looking for help on that, of course, as well, and We're always here. Okay. Slow on slide transitions. So, all right. So we have a theme today. So we'll go through a lot of disparate different items and important things that we're working on, but they all tie together. And, Gabriel and I were talking about what is our theme. And what we went back to is again, the discussions that our core team has every day. So first of all, data ownership. And as we refer to it, data sovereignty. Vitally important, but data sovereignty without interoperability gets awfully lonely fast. If you can't still connect with the world, then you're going to be limited in whatever platform you're using. So what we focus on is this theme today: data sovereignty meets interoperability. So let's talk about a few of the things that we mean in relation to each of those items. So taking ownership of your conversations. What we mean there is you always need to have control over who accesses your data. You run RocketChat on-prem or in our hosted, dedicated Fortress environments, you always have that. SaaS solutions, hopefully you do. You cannot always be sure. You need to be able to enable code-based auditing. See to the bottom of your code. Make sure you don't have any backdoors. Make sure that you're passing all of the requirements of your operational security team. Deploy where you want, how you want, when you want, scale the way that you want to. Another important thing is preparing for regulatory compliance requirements. This is sorry, one moment. Gabriel informed me that I'm getting all sorts of coming back. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And as we've all seen, there's a lot of legislative and regulatory activity relating to communications platforms, messaging platforms, social media platforms. We all need to be aware of those regulations, preparing for them. In general, that the current regulatory environment is positive. It's pointing us towards open and free communications, which is a very good thing. Taking ownership of your conversations means that you will be more nimble, more flexible as you proceed. Okay. And then, as we talked about as well, integrating and extending your platform as needed is, of course, super important. Second thing, interoperability, staying connected with the world. So what do we mean? First, adding external messaging channels. So you can go beyond just your organization and be communicating with your customers and your constituents and your members is super important. Enabling federated communications across messaging platforms is also vital. Gone are the days when you can think of team collaboration as just a particular group of employees or part of an organization. You have to be able to communicate with other business partners in a seamless way. Third, leveraging secure video conferencing. It's all about communication. It's not about messaging or voice. You need to be able to communicate in the best way to deal with a particular issue. Sometimes you have to hop on a call. Sometimes you have to hop on a video conference. Sometimes you can handle things async in a chat, but you need to have all of those options available. And then lastly, as I said, activating Voip. Voice calling is super important. So that's something that we're focusing on as well. So that's our theme for the day. Data sovereignty meets interoperability.
Yeah, and that's so important because there are two things. Sometimes when you talk to people, they seem to be against each other, right? How you get data sovereignty and security and you centralize, and at the same time you want to connect everything, right? And it might sound even a contradiction, but we believe that that's actually the way forward. You get the data sovereignty when you are able to control who you're connecting to, what you're connecting to, and then make sure that you have your copy of your data and you're controlling who has access to it. And if you're only on a closed system, then communication is a lot less useful if you're in a closed system, right? So being able to find the right balance and control between having your data and giving access to the trusted parties, that's I think it's the target, it's our vision, right?
Okay. So to start with, as a reminder, our open core, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are open source. We remain committed to open source. And so as a result, we're always looking to improve our open core. So our community edition is our open core. And then of course we have our enterprise offerings on top of that. We've been putting a lot of effort into making sure that the quality of that core improves. I'm going to hit a few of these items out of order. So first thing, ongoing code quality improvement. This is really important, whether it's conversion to TypeScript or expanding automated test coverage. There's a lot of activity going on. So we as a core team have significantly increased our allocation of time to the quality of the open core. That's something, again, as I said, that we always need and appreciate help on. If you're an organization that's using RocketChat, we do want to hear from you in terms of things that you see, improvements that you may have, contributions that you may have. And also, if you're an organization that's been using RocketChat intensively for a long time and you're only using the open core, this is my plug for the day. Reach out to us. Think about the enterprise capabilities. It does a couple of things. One, it enables your organization to have access to more capabilities. And then secondly, very importantly, it adds support to our core team so we can continue to drive quality improvements. We can continue to drive UX improvements. We can continue to drive accessibility initiatives, all vitally important stuff. Now, in terms of a few highlights, documentation is always important. We're a very flexible platform, but we need to be able to guide people on how to take advantage of that flexibility. So we have more than doubled the size of our technical documentation team, putting a lot of effort in on that front. We've closed a lot of gaps. We have farther to go, but a lot of really good progress on that. Apps Engine expansion. We've added a ton of capabilities, and we're on track to add quite a few more. I'll be talking about that as we go through the overall presentation. And then Google Summer of Code.
That's something very close to heart.
Yeah.
And I think this is the 6th year I've been talking to a few of the students and trying to get some time in the calendar to meet each and every one of them that is participating. I have about 14 I think projects sponsored by Google Summer of Code this year. And then it's something that is very close to heart. It's part of our journey, almost like since the beginning. Every year we participated, got some amazing contributions from the community, from the students, and sometimes they even come to join our team after this sort of engagement. So it's a nice entry point. And what is interesting this year is the two items, the App Engine expansion and the Google Summer of Code, are going together more than ever before, where a lot of the contributions and projects of Google Summer of Code are actually building apps for the Apps Engine, right? So one thing that we're going to touch, and I don't want to give you any spoilers, but we already talked about this, is how we see more and more of the features in RocketChat being built as apps and add-ons, and or that it can be installed as apps. So if people don't use that feature, they don't need to install the app, but also they can have their own release cycle. They can have different versions of the same functionality that people might want one or the other, without making the code base very complex. So Google Summer of Code is one of the best examples of the community now making use of the Apps Engine expansion.
Okay. All right, so let's jump into things. This is sort of an organizational slide. As we go through and we plan our roadmaps, we tend to think of 4 different facets of RocketChat. We're always, of course, balancing between different priorities. The 4 groupings, just to introduce them, are team collaboration, of course, our core use case. Second, Omni Channel, which is labeled here as customer engagement, the capabilities within RocketChat to connect with your customers, constituents, patients, members, etc. Third are apps and integrations. So that's where our Apps Engine and Marketplace comes in. And then fourth, intercompany communications. That's where we deal with all of the interoperability topics that we introduced that we'll now get into. Okay. So those are the four areas, and let's jump in. So starting off with team collaboration, the big upcoming release that we have that we've been focusing a ton of effort on is an updated video conference manager. So for those familiar with RocketChat, you'll know that there is a very rudimentary video conferencing call connector. It's basically allows you to initiate a video conference, but it's not terribly useful at this point. It's a feature that we've had in the platform for a while, and we've been looking to improve upon it, and that's what we've been doing. So to give it a preview of the path that we're following, first, we will remain provider agnostic. So you get to choose the video conferencing provider of your choice. We also will be supporting both on-premise solutions or SaaS video conferencing solutions. Just to give you guys an idea of where we're focusing our attention, we are heavily leaning initially towards on-premise solutions, simply because the market's kind of coming to us. We're seeing a lot of demand for on-premise video conferencing to be paired with our on-premise RocketChat deployments. So we've kicked off that process, focusing on-prem first, and then we'll continue to expand with additional SaaS offerings. Gabriel, anything to add on that front?
Yeah, no, and we're very proud of the partners and people you're bringing along on these journeys, like Pepsi and Big Blue Button, the guys from MConf, helping us build. Those are likely to be the initial versions that you can be able to deploy and configure on-prem. So exciting times. There is a lot of demand, especially like I mentioned, the Skype for Business being sunset, and companies looking for a replacement that it can still control like they could with Skype for Business. And we believe we are more than good, like really a upgrade on user experiencing, replacing Skype for Business. So if you have Skype for Business deployment that is needing to move to a new solution, come talk to us as well.
Great. Okay, so a little bit more description about what this is and what to expect in the upcoming release. First, the call initiation process and ringer functionality. So we will have a visual and audio indicator to room members when a conference call is initiated for that room. So the way to think of this, any room that you're a member of, you can initiate a call. Everyone within that room will be notified. We will have capabilities to help manage maximum number of users in line with your video conferencing capability as well, so that you don't attempt to invite 2,000 people to a 60 person limit video conference. We also will have the ability for you to set audio video options before initiating a call as part of the initiation process. Second key part, recording call details to the room. We will vary by provider in terms of what we can include, but based on the capabilities of each provider, we will be collecting information back to record in the room, information like how long the call took, whether it's still continuing or whether it's ended, what members of the room actually joined the call. And as we progress, we'll also be able to begin to investigate things like posting a recording of a video conference back into the room. Definitively, that last part will not be part of the upcoming release, but hopefully it provides a good illustration of some of the benefits and capabilities that we'll have of having that closely integrated management initiation of video conference calls from RocketChat rooms. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're really excited. This one is coming very soon. Okay. All right. Related item, new invitations experience. So team collaboration is obviously at our core. And quite frankly, you need users in order to collaborate. So one of the areas that we've seen as just a kind of a pain point in the platform is that invitation process, especially for new workspace admins, that when you first spin up your instance of RocketChat, we have a number of seams that can cause kind of silent failure in that user invitation process. We also have a few things that make it somewhat incomplete. So we're doing three things. First, right now, when you invite a user, they will not appear in the UI until they accept the invite. So we're shifting to what we see as a best practices approach, that we will be displaying invited users. So that way, if needed, you can resend an invite, you can revoke an invite if needed, and manage people while they're in that in-between status where they've been invited, but they've yet to join the workspace. Okay. Second thing, SMTP configuration status. If your email server, your SMTP server is not properly set up right now, there's not a lot of indication of that. We leave that to the workspace owner. We're going to make that a lot more clear so that you can see the status, you can be guided if you haven't fully set that up. And we're also considering providing ways to actually send invites for you if you have any difficulty setting up your SMTP server in the short term when spinning up a new workspace. Okay. And then a third item, there's sort of a great irony in here that the way we send invites is via email when we're a communication platform, and we focus on messaging. We have a lot of users, a lot of workspace owners who want to send invitations in different ways. So we're improving our ability to generate invite links with essentially attributes that you can set relating to the expiration of the tokens associated with those links, et cetera, so that you can have links that you can then send via whatever means you choose. If you choose to send that via another messaging app, if you choose that to send that in some other way, we make that easy for you. and we make it easy for you to also have clarity and visibility into how you're controlling those invitation links. Okay. All right. So on to the next topic. I'll take everyone through through this, and Gabriel, I know you'll probably want to jump in on a few items. So 6 months ago, when we went through to highlight the different things we're working on for Omni Channel, the first one that we talked about was, you have to have channels to have Omni Channel. And our view is we want organizations to be able to communicate with their customers, their members, on the channel that those customers and members choose. And so we've been working very hard to add channels. A lot has happened since then. We've enabled WhatsApp as a channel. We've enabled Instagram Direct as a channel. We've released a new and significantly improved Facebook Messenger channel. And that's in a pretty short amount of time. That's, over the course of the past 6 months. Really, that's over the course of the past 5 or 4. And as we go forward, we expect that cadence to continue. So great progress, but we'll continue to look at additional messaging platforms to add to our omni-channel capabilities. WeChat, Line are both ones that we're currently digging into. In addition, as a reminder, the capabilities of each platform will change and evolve over time. So we are also looking at improving the Telegram channel, improving our Twitter capabilities as well. That will be ongoing. So consider this a little bit of a look back and look forward. What you guys have seen over the past 6 months with the addition of these new channels and improvement to existing channels, that will continue as we go forward. Okay. Second big item is VoIP calls. So we released our beta version a couple months ago, and we're now moving that to production version. I'm going to save the details of that for the next slide. Okay. And that brings me really to what our next up items will be after that VoIP production release goes out the door shortly. And first item is contact center manager capabilities. As we've been adding all of these new channels and new capabilities, what we've seen is RocketChat is being used in increasingly sophisticated ways in contact centers for fairly large customer service operations that operate in a distributed manner. We're enabling all of those use cases, but we're also introducing new needs. So as soon as you go from operating customer service on a channel or two to across many channels, a lot of new requirements come into play. So we need to address these. We think of this as the with great power comes great responsibility column, where we now have to provide these follow-on capabilities. So contact merging. Someone contacts you via WhatsApp and then is also contacting you via Instagram. You need to be able to recognize that is the same person and merge those records. So that's something that we're working on. Channel handoff is also super important. Just like I was talking about with team collaboration, you want to use the best communication mechanism for the problem at hand. So for example, you could be speaking with someone via live chat. That's an ephemeral conversation. As soon as someone clicks away and closes the live chat, they're gone. You've lost them. So having the ability, for example, to flip that live chat conversation over to an ongoing WhatsApp conversation is super important. A lot of organizations who are looking to do those things. So that's something that we'll be working on to support. And then the third item, I've listed it here as a dashboard, but it's a little bit of a misnomer. What we're going to be working on is advanced analytics. The more customers you're supporting, the more channels you're dealing with, the more you need to be able to evaluate kind of the effectiveness, the performance. Are you giving your outside parties, those members, constituents, patients, et cetera, a good experience? To determine that, you need the right analytics supports. So I'm really excited about what the direction we're heading in. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but we will have the ability to have much more flexible analytics, both using RocketChat and using third-party tools, is what we'll be focusing on. So those are the next steps. Broadcast. I wanted to touch on this item because we did talk about it, I think, Gabriel, 6 months ago. But we've been holding. So I wanted to highlight that this is an item that we still plan to dig into. When we talk about broadcast, that's the ability to send outbound messages to groups of customers based on certain criteria. Just so everyone knows, we think that this is a valuable capability. We're also, very conscious of the opportunities for misuse of this. So we're evaluating those. We will be moving forward, but you can think of this as in the next column, or a little bit farther out. We probably won't be working on it during third quarter. Okay. All right. Let me jump to Voip, and Gabriel, I'd love to get your thoughts on whether there are kind of key items that I've skipped over or missed. So, Voip phase 2. So as I mentioned, we launched our beta a couple months ago. We are now just about at the stage that we're going to be removing that beta tag. That's always a significant event. Remember that at that point, it can be considered as a production feature. For those on paid plans, that also means that feature is fully supported by RocketChat. To give a little bit of an illustration of, well, sometimes people see those beta tags. Well, what does it mean? And the key thing is, when you see that beta tag, those are capabilities that we believe are ready for use in a limited fashion, so we can get feedback. That feedback is very valuable to us as we work to stabilize the capability, as we work to make it production ready. So with the feedback that we've gotten the last couple of months, we've made a number of key architectural changes that in short, there are a variety of things. I really want to congratulate the team for getting through all of these. But at the core, it's been mostly about connection and call stability that the team has been focusing on. So first thing that's coming up in the upcoming release is removal of the beta tag. And then second, we are going to begin to add enterprise capabilities. So we're adding the ability to support outbound calls and call transfer capabilities. And then next up, we'll be working on voicemail visibility, missed call indicators, and monitoring tools. So we're really excited about this progression. Voip is it's a complex area. As a little bit of a preview, expect a series of releases as we continue to add additional capabilities.
Yeah, and I think someone even asked here on the chat if you're going to make physical Voip products. And the idea is not like we're not going to be building or manufacturing our own devices, but we are using standard devices, standard protocols for everything that we are doing, right? There's a big focus on RocketChat and trying not to reinvent the wheel around protocols about how to make interoperability work. So on Voip, using SIP server. So you have any device that it's SIP, it would work with RocketChat, right? That's if you have a SIP server or like a IP-centric server, you would actually then be able to integrate RocketChat into that Voip system. That's the way we approach things, trying to make RocketChat this single glass that you can see all the infrastructure and it's like email, the WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram, your Voip, your like real phone numbers. So the whole idea is to plug into those systems and extract the most value by having a single interface where you can use all those devices and all those channels. a big thing that it's getting out of a beta and getting the maturity. It's adding, I think, those features that Skelly is talking about. And it's being able to use it now on production, and for us to be able to focus on getting out those features like this voicemail visibility, like transfer, and even calling a colleague. Maybe your colleague is not on the mobile, on the desktop, so you end up having a call ringing their mobile. It's really trying to communication work seamlessly to connect people wherever they are, and Voip was a big part of companies' life. So it makes only sense that we were brought in under the whole umbrella of Omni Channel.
Yep. Yeah, so it's an exciting area for us. We expect it to be ongoing. Just kind of addressing a few of the things that I see in the questions. Again, just to emphasize, this is SIP protocol based, and so it requires a SIP trunk and asterisk server. It will provide all the required information for setting that up. And as Gabriel was saying, again, going back to our theme of interoperability, making sure to work with established protocols is what enables all of these extensions into the physical world of even landlines. So it's a great step for us. We're excited about the direction we're going in. Okay, so federation. Core item on interoperability. Gabriel, I'd love it if you could introduce this topic, since this is so core to our overall strategy and some of the things that we've been talking about as a company.
Absolutely. I think on the heart of communication, like we're talking over and over again, repeating ourselves, it's connecting different companies, connecting different organizations, connecting everything, and it's on the heart of the internet itself, right? So having distributed systems, and there's this whole talk about Web 3.0, distributed systems, how you talk about all this communication and continue to have data sovereignty if everything maybe is on the cloud or someone's cloud. And for me, federation, it's the feature, is the part of the architecture that allows all those things to happen, where every node, every organization is responsible for its part of the communication, and then it federates with users from other nodes and servers. So it was always a big part of the vision, of the dream of RocketChat, to have this decentralized network of servers. Then anyone in each of or any of those servers can talk to people from any other server. And when you use a protocol like when you're adopting the Matrix network, we automatically start to be part of other servers and be able to interconnect with other servers. So rather than our previous federation development, which we built our own protocol, we decided that rather than trying to create, again, another isolated network of servers, it made sense to adopt a standard that we're getting other companies to join in, because that's the world we believe we should be part of. That's the big vision, that like giving people freedom of choice and freedom of having not being locked into a single vendor. So that's why I ended up joining the Matrix project as a protocol, and being this whole target of adding this capability. And our vision and what you're driving for is to turn RocketChat into what is on the Matrix world is called a home server, right? So the whole idea is that RocketChat could be a node of on the whole Matrix network. We're not quite there yet. We are going through a journey right now. There are some articles that we're putting out there and displaying like what is the current release, where we do need like running some process beside the RocketChat server, then we'll be talking the matrix protocol, and then a bridge converts them into RocketChat events and like users and messages. But our target, and we will get there, it's RocketChat to be a fully fledged node on the matrix network. And that's what we like deeply believe it's the way forward. And one thing people need to be mindful, we talked about this today, like with great power comes great responsibility. By opening up the server to external connections and external messages and users and requests, there's a whole new level of security that we're going to be focusing in adding, and giving the controls for the admins on how they want that channels, conversations, users to be shared with other servers. So that's why it's something that we moved it's slower than just like putting it out there quickly, because we do believe it's a very important topic to get right and to give the right level of control. Otherwise, the whole concept of security might just like get blown out of the water and break if you don't have those controls. So you're doing carefully, step by step, and gradually implementing it, making sure we understand the implications and the community understands the implication, and then we give the enterprise level of controls that we understand our users need.
Yeah. Great overview, and kind of adding on to that. Communication is not a zero-sum game. And so we've gotten a lot of questions from people about, okay, why Matrix? And as Gabriel said, we had an option. We could continue with our own protocol, or we could align with another protocol. And again, sticking with that theme of communication is not a zero-sum game. By having multiple organizations align with a protocol, that is what protocols are for. That opens up broader opportunities for everyone, which is really important, and that's a mission that we're committed to. So we're really excited about this. To highlight it, also, the Federation Security Manager. One thing to remember: as soon as you enable Federation within your workspaces, you have an open door, and so all of those security tools to be able to manage what rooms are federated, see what users are federated, and activity and all that. That's really essential. So a big area of focus for us. Kind of closing point on this. Also, we continue to work on and are really excited about some additional bridging options. And again, we are going one route, and we of course recognize there's some large commercial platforms out there like Slack and Teams that may have chosen different things. They've chosen maybe a little bit more of a walled garden approach. It doesn't mean that we can't communicate with them, but we will continue to operate via a bridging method and expand our capabilities. So we're really excited about some of the new things that are coming on that front as well.
Yeah, and just on Federation, I think some people sometimes don't realize that they use one of the systems they use on the internet. It's the email is a federated system, right? Like when they're trying to explain what is a federated system, sometimes you have to explain to people, look, you use email. Email, it's maybe the first real federated system where users from different servers can send messages from users from another server, and the servers have a domain. So that's how you have your email address. It's user at a domain. They're federated together, and that's the same thing you're building. And because I guess you can all agree, nothing ever goes wrong with email. You never get any spam. You never get an email sent to the wrong user, or never have an unsolicited email. That's the risk of a federated system when you open up. And that's all these learnings from the things that can happen on email. You don't want them to be happening on your main communication platform that you're collaborating every day. A lot of people have already been complaining, for instance, like spamming WhatsApp or Telegram, or all this stuff is already being spammed. We really don't want that to happen. So we want to be extra cautious, and we want this federation security manager to be the tool that allow you to federate, but in total control, and not getting users spammed, and not having your information leaking to other servers unknowingly. So that's the thing. And around the bridge, the additional bridge options, you talk about Microsoft Teams and Slack. Let's all put some hopes that the Digital Market Act in Europe will start having some effect and forcing those organizations to open up APIs for what would be a federation, right? For us to be able to connect into their channels transparently to the user, and then being able to, rather than having to create a bridge, which we're working on, to be able to just talk to users in any network. So if we can give a help to the Europeans to get that act implemented and start to be effective, that could be a really good way forward.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so I'm conscious of time, so we have a few other things to go through. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, so we have time for questions and wrap up. Okay, so connecting your apps and automations. So at the core of everything that we do on this front is Apps Engine. The Apps Engine squad and the core team has been making a ton of progress. New triggers that we support. Essentially, which are new event listeners, support for NPM packages, so the new OAuth engine. All of these steps forward are expanding the types of apps the developers are able to create to extend RocketChat, and the level of sophistication. So similar to what I was talking about with Omni Channel, we've gotten a great start over the last 6 months, and that train is going to continue to keep moving. So we have more things planned. So first, we are working on changes to enable Apps Engine to use the core RocketChat UI kit, which currently it does not. That will again provide a lot of front end, visual capabilities, which will be a big step forward. As I mentioned, we've been adding new event listeners. We will continue to add more. So, for example, file upload events. That's an event that Apps Engine currently does not listen for. That's one that will be added. Again, opens up all sorts of new possibility. We're also going to be working on an asset manager so that you can manage your own assets, visual assets that can be used within apps that you develop. So key part of the strategy here, and I'll come back to it in a couple minutes. Second, AI services middleware, similar to the broadcast capability that I talked about with Omni Channel. This is one, again, that we had on the board 6 months ago. We still have it there. We still think it is vitally important, but we've yet to allocate resources here. We will, it's coming up. As a reminder, there are cases where more and more we see workspace owners dealing with multiple automations. That may be multiple bots. It may be multiple bots with a translation call. It may be a variety of different things. And we see the need for middleware to support those interactions, sequence them, manage dependencies, et cetera. So progress has not yet been made on this front, but it remains on our list of vitally important things. Okay. And then lastly, we are also expanding the work by the core team on developing enterprise apps. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one in a moment as well. All right. Okay, so last couple items before we switch over to questions. Marketplace UI refresh. So tying things together, why are we putting all this work into Apps Engine? First, we think it's core to what we do. We want RocketChat to be interoperable, but it also is the core toolkit that is used by our customers, our partners, to extend RocketChat capabilities and also to create reusable apps that can be published to the marketplace. So for those who have published new apps to the marketplace in the past 6 months, thank you. We're starting to see some good traction, and I think that is really driven by the work of the Apps Engine team. The marketplace team has also been working on an overall UI refresh. So you'll see more details about each app, which is important. It's also prettier, which is important in my book. The tab navigation, we're surfacing additional security information on releases, configuration information, and logs for each app. So those are all things that are coming that are really important. As a reminder, in Marketplace, we have free apps, we have paid apps. For any paid apps, we're improving the user experience for checkout and subscribing to an app, but also having visibility into what apps you're subscribed to and canceling subscriptions as needed. Okay. I'm going to pause for a second because Joe just asked a great question. The human handoff from a chatbot to a human operator is super important. It comes into play in almost any organization that uses bots. And Joe, the short answer is yes. There's a lot more details behind that, but I'd be happy to set up time and we could dig into it and talk further. Okay. All right. Okay. Last key item for us to hit. Gabriel had touched on this before. So migration of features to RocketChat apps. This has long been, one of the key things behind the Apps Engine strategy. As everyone knows, we have had a lot of community contributions over the years. And a lot of those community contributions have become feature sets that exist today in the core code, but don't get a lot of attention from the core team or from outside contributors. So we're going to follow a path that ensures that nothing is taken away from any users, community or enterprise, that can also drive cleaning up the code base and provide an easier path for contributors as the platform matures. So the three goals, again, are cleaner code base and more comprehensive test coverage, easier path for contributors, and more options for users. So what are the three things that we're doing? First thing is we're taking certain feature sets that exist in the core code and we're moving those to free community apps. They're great features in a lot of cases, but if you're not using them, you don't want them cluttering up the code base, we're moving them out so they're fully encapsulated. You'll have access to them in Marketplace to add them. Okay. In some cases, we'll also be creating enterprise versions of selected apps. When we do that, we will not take away the free community app. They will continue to be available just as it is in the core code, but we may have a corresponding improved upon supported app that we also offer. Okay. And then lastly, anytime we create an enterprise app, we will make sure that it's fully covered under operational security coverage for the organization. So it's supported, but it also is reviewed in all operational security cycles. So key thing here, and like I said, when we get through this process, we will have a cleaner and leaner code base. We will have a higher percentage of test coverage across that code base. And really importantly, each of those community apps will be available for contributors to contribute to. And the encapsulated nature of those individual apps will make it a cleaner, easier path for submitting PRs, having those reviewed, approved, and merged. So I'm really excited about this. I think we end up with a really good path forward for really ramping up the contributions that we'll get in the future. So
yeah, and it's totally aligned if you look at other successful and large open source projects, all the way from WordPress. And sometimes we always tell we want to be the WordPress of chat. WordPress has this amazing ecosystem of apps that completely extends the functionality of WordPress in a way that if you try to have all the functionality on the WordPress out of the box, it would just be unmanageable and it'd be like this bloated thing. You need to be able to pick up and choose the things that fits your user needs. So we want to have the apps engine to be extended in a way that you can pretty much use any action or trigger and put hooks on any internal events and manipulate and change them and add our UI framework to build new interactive screens and new tabs. So it's really important that this will give the freedom for the community to build things without being the bottleneck of having everything submitted to the core projects. Will make the project slimmer, so people who want just the chat functionality will have a much faster, cleaner code. And I don't know, I'm very excited about the opportunities and the performance that a move like that will start to bring to us. And it's already undergoing, so it's not a dream. It's something that is already happening.
Okay, so we run short on time. On privacy and security, I'm going to touch on one item, but also what I'd like to tee up is we have a lot of activity in this area. So I haven't talked to the team about this, but what I'd like to propose is later in the year, we should have a privacy and security focused webinar, since it's a really important topic for all of us. In the meantime, though, one thing I wanted to highlight that will be coming soon is a kind of a foundational item for mobile device management. It's basic, it's a starting point, but it's very important. So in this phase one, we'll be enabling visibility of authenticated devices so that admins can review that information, and users can see what devices they have connected. You can force a logout, block a device, etc. So this is, again, consider it foundational. It's a starting point. And what we will do a little bit later on in the year is we'll go through a webinar. It's a little bit more of a deep dive on privacy and security to highlight some of the things that the team is doing on that front. In the interest of time, though, I think now is a good point in time for us to pause for questions. Before doing that, though, I did want to highlight that later on in June, on the 23rd, we will be having a session on secure and compliant collaboration for financial services. So thank you for popping up the invite link there. Please go ahead and join. It's going to be a great session. We're going to get into a lot of details relating to key core requirements for financial institutions within the messaging space. So with that, I'll pause and let's see if we have questions that people have that may not have been addressed.
So there's one about mentioning teams and which plans you'll be able to add that feature. I'm not entirely sure what releases and what editions we have, but we are literally in the process of simplifying the offering and maybe reducing the number of editions and different plans. So I'll need to get back to you on this one, and I won't be able to say the name of the person because it's not an alphabet that I know how to pronunciate. But it's going to be part of this re-evaluation of the different editions. So please hang in there, and we'll get back to you. I already took a copy of your question. And if you can hit us via email, we'll be able to give you an update on this properly once we finish this exercise of redefining the editions, the plans.
Okay, yeah, and hitting a couple of other items, and I apologize because I think I'm going to kind of go in reverse order on these, but Drew had a question about comprehensive white labeling, and specifically, it looks like focusing on the live chat side of things. So in the current version of live chat, we're not planning on adding that as a customization, but we have begun the process of evaluating a design of what essentially will be our premium live chat. and that premium live chat will include the ability to visually customize to a more extensive extent, and also, fully removing the RocketChat logo on the premium version of it. So that's underway. I don't have dates on it, but that is something that we're beginning to dig into. Tony Gomez asked about white labeling, and absolutely, there is there are really broad white labeling capabilities within RocketChat that go across the platform, go across our mobile apps. Tony, please feel free to reach out to me directly on that, and I'll get you routed to the appropriate people. Okay. Roham has asked, is there a plan for fast forward voice messages? Great question, and that's something that many of us would benefit from. I don't know, but I will get an answer to that. Rodrigo also is typing, so he may already have one for you. Okay. All right, I'm scrolling back.
I think there is in the UI, depending on the browser, you can change the speed already, right? If that's what you're talking about. When someone sends a voice message on a channel and you press play, at least when I'm Chrome, I can already see the 3 dots and I can change the speeds and choose any sort of speeds, if I understood the question correctly. And I think most of the questions are answered. Yeah, Rohan put on the questions again.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm sure that we missed a few. We have one others. Let's treat this as the last one. We'll keep everyone to the hour limit. But Rostislav asked, do we plan to do something about delivered red check marks? And I'm not sure the context on that in terms of what you're looking for exactly.
It's like the WhatsApp marks when someone has received on their device, and we do have this feature already. So
yeah, so we do have message red indicators, but let me know if it's a design issue, and we'd be happy to get an understanding of what it is.
It's not on by default, and I'm not sure it's in all plans. Maybe someone can give me information here. So we do have the feature. It's just not by default. It's not turned on, and it's not available on every version.
Okay. All right. So everyone, in conclusion, first of all, thank you for the time today. Thank you for the feedback that we get from our users. It is very helpful. Feel free to reach out to me on Open as needed. I am Christopher.Skelly on Open. Tony, I saw you just asked that. All of the input and feedback is very welcome. In a relatively short period of time, also, we don't cover every item that we're working on. So I'm sure there are people on the phone who have items that are near and dear to their hearts. If we didn't address some of those key things, also please feel free to reach out. It may be something that we are working on and we didn't cover. If it isn't, we'd love to hear your thoughts on things of value that we may not be paying attention to. So thank you, everyone. We really appreciate the time today, and look forward to hearing from everyone on an ongoing basis and on the next webinar as well.
Thank you guys so much for your time, and it was very happy to be able to share those information with you and have you. And thanks, Chris, for putting this together. It was an amazing presentation.
Sure thing. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, guys. Bye-bye.